Hey, everybody. How are y'all doing? Ryan Gromvin here, author, speaker, chef, restaurateur, founder of therestaurantboss.com, clickbacon.com, and scalemyrestaurant.com. And welcome to the State of the Restaurant Industry 2021. Like I said earlier, for those of you who were on early, I had to go out and put on my absolutely best suit that I own. This is the Amazon special. I believe I got this for $11.99. It smells brand new and delicious, straight out of the Amazon bag. But in all kidding aside, I try to bring light and levity to what we're doing here. I wanted to have fun. We made this very official looking logo, which I absolutely love. I told my designer, I'm like, let's do something real official, but like Minecraft. My son is playing Roblox all the time, and Roblox and Minecraft, I think, are very similar. And this is what she came up with. Eleni is awesome. She'll be watching this and editing it. But this is so cool what she came up with here. I love it. What do you guys think? You think it's a cool logo or what? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down or whatever you guys think here. But in all seriousness, this is something we've been doing here for about 4 or 5 years now. I think maybe 5 years. Every year, usually in January. I think once we did it in December by accident. But every year in January, we do kind of a recap of where we were, and where we see the restaurant industry going. Now, this has been a very challenging year for everybody, as you can imagine. So I hope you enjoy this address. I don't want to pat myself on the back here, but we've been pretty accurate in the last couple state of the restaurant industry kind of predictions and recaps and where the industry is. So I think this is something that is worth paying attention to and worth really looking at. This isn't going to be an in-depth training today. We're not going to go too specific or too deep into any one area. We're just going to kind of touch on the surface of some things that we see going on. And then, of course, open it up to some questions now that I've got my chat panel working, which is great. I want to apologize for everyone that I promised this was going to be available on Facebook and YouTube. It will be as soon as this is over. We'll put it up there. But I'm so sorry that I was not able to get the stream to work. But for those of you who are here, hey, that's what the early bird gets, right? The early bird gets the worm for showing up early. So what do you say? Let's get into this. If you haven't already told me where you're calling in from, go ahead, put that in the chat. Say hello. We're going to review that later. But welcome to the State of the Restaurant Industry 2021. So some quick 2020 statistics. 2020 was expected to be the highest grossing year ever for restaurants in the United States. 2020 was predicted to do a total of $899 billion in sales in the restaurant industry. So call it a cool $900 billion. Now, something about that statistic that's really interesting is about 4 years ago, for the first time ever, restaurant sales and grocery store sales were the same, or they crossed over. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that marked a very interesting time for restaurants because obviously grocery store sales were very high, but restaurant industry sales crossed over grocery store sales, which was really a big deal. It was showing the growth of the restaurant industry. But this year, that did not happen at all. I didn't pull out a statistic for grocery store sales, but I don't think we need to know that grocery store sales far exceeded restaurant sales this year. Now, January and February were on track. January and February were in the 65 billion, which are usually slower months, but the 65 billion number was ahead of where they were last year for January and February. So all trends early in 2020 were pointing that we were going to hit or exceed the prediction. So as of January, February, the restaurant industry was a very healthy industry. However, as we all know, 2020 was a down year for restaurants, right? 618 billion. Again, these numbers are still being rounded off and figured out completely. Not everyone has filed taxes, et cetera, but some of these numbers are coming from the National Restaurant Association. They do a pretty good job of getting these numbers and predicting them. We're down 32% from predicted for the year. So what is the state of the restaurant industry? That's not so easy to answer because the issue is not with the industry itself. The issue is COVID, as we all know. Certain sectors are healthy even with COVID, right? If you're in an industry, if you wouldn't mind If you had an up year this year, some of you out there probably are up. Maybe you're, I don't want to say embarrassed, but maybe it's hard for you to state that publicly because you feel terrible that you had an up year. And you don't have to, but I'm just curious if anyone out there had an up year and you wouldn't mind posting that, just saying we had an up year or we had a good year. If you don't want to, that's totally cool. Some of my clients are what we say secretly having their best years ever. So certain sectors are healthy, even with COVID. Certain sectors are healthy, but they've been disrupted by COVID, and certain sectors are just not healthy, right? Just not healthy. So I still can't answer what the state of the restaurant industry is yet. But I think we're going to be able to here in a minute, because a sector survey done a couple of months ago said that 83% of fine dining operators expected lower sales in 2021 and beyond. Not just 2021, but 2021 and beyond. So that's 83% of fine dining expected lower sales, while only 17% of QSR, quick service restaurant operators, expected lower sales or expect lower sales. So that begins to tell us something that I've been predicting for a while and something that I think anyone out there would be predicting as well. We're seeing the trends. COVID has accelerated the trends. So this is James Carville. For those of you who don't remember, James Carville was the political advisor. He ran Bill Clinton's campaign, and he's very famous for saying, it's the economy, stupid, right? Focus on the economy when you're running an election. The way you win an election is the economy. It's the economy, stupid. So I'm not calling any of you stupid. I'm just saying it's the economy. So here are some statistics that are important to note. On average, economies grow for 8 to 9 years, then have a correction. This is very historical. You can track this back all the way through the 20s and 30s of the United States and of the world economy. Obviously, there's periods of more growth and periods of less growth, but generally speaking, we grow for 8 to 9 years and then have some sort of a correction. The last major correction that we had, again, at least I'm speaking here in the United States. I know some of you are all over the world, and some of your economies, depending on where you are, fall in line very much with the United States. Some are different, depending on different factors. But again, what I'm looking at here is, yes, worldwide, but I'm talking about the United States. 2008 was our last major correction. The recovery started in about 2010. In 2019, you can go back and look at not last year's, but the year before my State of the Restaurant Industry address. And one of the big things I said is that a correction is coming. A slowdown is coming. I don't know when. I think I said it could be next week. It could be next month. It could be next year. But I have been working toward and working with my clients, preparing them for an economic correction since about 19, which just means that we've been a little more careful about risks that we've taken. We've been very careful about investing in technology and real estate and concepts that will be recession proof or maybe even thrive in a recession. In 2020, we had a correction, but the correction was not due to the economy. So it's easy to look at the economy right now, and depending on what color glasses you're wearing, you can either be wearing rose-colored glasses or you can be wearing very dark tinted gray glasses. But if you're wearing rose-colored glasses, you can say that stocks are higher. Stocks are higher than they were in 2020, the beginning of 2020. But 20% of the stocks are holding up the other 80%. There are a few companies, Amazon, Tesla, Apple, Google, Netflix, Microsoft, the technology companies, the scalable stay-at-home technology companies are what is making the stock market look like it's high. If you look at the other 80% of companies, they're flat or down. Residential real estate, anyone who's in a desirable area to live right now, you're probably noticing that your real estate prices are going up. Houses are selling very quickly. Where I live right now, houses are going on the market for maybe even a day, if even. A lot of them are pocket listings. They're selling before they're even going on the market. Low interest rates, folks. Very, very low interest rates are what's growing the housing market. Unemployment is higher than ever. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. Unemployment is higher than ever. Yet again, some people are saying that we've recovered, that our economy is strong, but government stimulus is delaying the effects of this. Again, these are all my opinions. This is my state of the restaurant industry. You may agree, you may not. I want your opinions. Talk to me, tell me what you think. But again, unemployment is very high, but I don't think we have felt the full effect of that because of the government stimulus. We keep sending out money. We are printing cash like it grows on trees. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. This is not a political argument. This is not a what we should or shouldn't do. I'm just saying we're printing money like crazy and we're handing it out. And it is what it is. But I think that's boosting our economy a little bit. Landlords are not evicting. I'm hearing statistics that something like 60, 70, 80% of rent in Manhattan, in certain parts of New York, is more than 6 months behind. Something like 50% of rent in Los Angeles is more than 6 months behind. Even if those numbers are off by 100 or 50%, even if those numbers are off by half, that is still a massive amount of money that sooner or later people are going to want. But landlords are not evicting. They can't evict right now. They shouldn't morally and they can't legally. There's moratoriums on this. Credit cards are also not aggressively collecting. I think all of this is holding up an economy higher than it should be. And yes, real estate, someone just wrote, real estate prices are going up due to the exodus of major cities and into urban areas. 100%. Excuse me. That's what I'm experiencing here. I live in a suburb of a suburb. I live 45 minutes out of Austin, where you can get a little bit of land and where COVID is almost non-existent because of how sparse where I live is. And people are coming into my community like crazy from Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, from the big cities. But the real estate prices in those big cities are not being affected terribly right now. Again, because I think we're holding that up with low interest rates and with low eviction rates. Anyways, the point I'm making is that I still believe there's going to be a correction. This is me. I still believe there's going to be a correction. I think it will show up, but it'll show up different than other corrections. This will be a very specific, laser-focused surgical correction. I do not think what we will see will be like what happened in 2008, where it affected everything, all sectors, the whole economy, nearly the whole world. I don't think that's what we're going to see here. I think it's going to be a very focused correction, but I think in those areas, it's going to be very deep. So it's going to look like this rather than this is, again, my prediction. It'll force our industry to change more than it has ever changed in a shorter period of time. And we're going to talk about that right now. This is what I call the bow tie restaurant curve. So at the top, you have this very simple arrow system that I drew. The middle being somewhere between utility and experience. And when I say experience, I don't mean how much effort or how much time we have working in a job. I mean what experience we create for people. I'll explain this to you. Utility, think of your McDonald's, think of Taco Bell, think of even some food trucks. They just provide food. There's no experience, limited hospitality, limited service. It's all about the food. And we are seeing a move toward utility faster than we have ever seen before. QSRs have been growing for like 10, maybe 15 years. Fast food has grown like crazy through COVID. And I don't think that that will slow down. But I think what's happening is as we are craving experiences, we used to get experiences at restaurants. Going to a restaurant used to be an experience. I mean, even in my days, and some of you are older than I am, but that's what you did. You went on a date. You celebrated a birthday at a restaurant. You went with your family to a restaurant. that was the entertainment. Sometimes there was a movie, but sometimes my wife and I, dinner was the entertainment for the night, right? When we were in our late 20s, we would go out for an early reservation. We'd have a glass of wine or a cocktail at the bar. Then we'd have dinner. Then maybe we'd go somewhere else for dessert. But dining out was the entertainment for the evening. That is changing. We are looking for experiences. And so when we have one side of the curve is fast food, like McDonald's, Taco Bell's, Chipotle, not even Chipotle. Chipotle slides a little bit more into the QSR. So if you can see my mouse, like Chipotle, I think would be like here, like most QSRs are kind of here. Oh, I think we're looking at like medium, fine dining, restaurants that you sit at, full service restaurants kind of right here. But then as we move to experience, this is where I'm talking about like movie theaters with restaurants, axe throwing, right? I actually have a meeting later this week with a company that's opening up an axe throwing facility, and they need some help with their menu and their food service. Bowling centers. I've been doing work with bowling centers. We don't even call them bowling centers anymore. We call them entertainment centers because they used to be called bowling alleys, and then they changed to bowling centers, and now they're called FEC, family entertainment centers, because they're more than just bowling. It's usually bowling and laser tags and arcade and food. A lot of the family entertainment centers that I've done work with have big, huge restaurants and dining areas. It's not just the quick deep fried chicken wings and mozzarella sticks anymore. So the reason I call this the bow tie curve is the ends of the spectrum are getting fatter and the middle of the spectrum is getting leaner. Now, I don't believe that this has happened yet, but it is happening. And I've seen this happening for the last few years. Again, it doesn't follow the shape of the bow tie yet. This is still, this middle, this family sit-down restaurant is still one of the largest sectors in the industry, but I do believe it's changing. I'm seeing it change. The restaurants that I work with that are successful, the brands that I talk to are moving to the outsides. Think of this as polarization. It's happening everywhere. Look at our politics. You're left or you're right. There's no middle anymore. There's no compromise anymore. You're left or you're right. Everything in this world is going polarized. It's left or it's right. It's this or it's that. And we're seeing this in the restaurant industry. So if anyone has any questions about this or where a restaurant particularly falls, type that in and we'll address it later. But I want to share with you that this is where I'm seeing the correction. And this is where I believe our correction is going to happen. So existing segments, like we're going to see shrinkage in full service and fine dining. We're going to see sustainability in QSR. We're going to see growth in fast food and delivery. Some new segments, like we talked about, are going to be what I call family quick service, family QSR. A family QSR to me is one of the most exciting opportunities, I think, in the industry. If you operate a full service restaurant right now, this is a model that you should look at and consider. It's a model where you have all of the facilities, the big dining rooms and everything that a full service family restaurant offers, but in a quick service environment where you go to the counter and order. One of the best examples that I can share with you is a place called Mandola's. Mandola's is here in Austin area. There's 3 or 4 locations, and I can get this wrong, but the family, I think they operated Johnny Carrabba's. They operated one of the Italian kind of Olive Garden knockoffs. I think it was Carrabba's, but they got out of their full service restaurants about 10 years ago and started opening up Mandola's. And what they did was they brought the delicious food that they made in their full service sit down Italian restaurants, simplified the menu, and now allow the guests to just order at the counter. There's bottles of wine, white wine in the refrigerator, red wine's out at room temperature. Or you can get beer, but you can just grab your bottle of wine, go to the counter, order what you want, sit down, and then they bring your food. A lot like a QSR. But the quality is a step up. The quality is the same quality I would expect at my local Italian bistro or trattoria. But we're removing the nonsense. We're removing the fluff. My wife and I and my kid love going to eat at Mandola's. We love meeting other families there because there's no awkwardness about splitting checks. One of the families that we love to meet at Mandola's, if you're watching, which I know you're not, but if you do watch this on YouTube, you're always late. Everything we do, you're late. And we love you to death, but you're always late. But the best part about it is we don't care. We get our bottle of wine, we order our food. If they show up 10 minutes late, they join us 10 minutes late. That's where the world is right now. Food is not the entertainment. The other part about this restaurant is they've got a big patio with a playground. My kid loves to play on the playground. His friends love to play on the playground. We meet a lot of families there. It fits into our busy lifestyle. This is a segment that I see growing a lot. The other thing, like I said, are the family entertainment centers or entertainment dining, axe throwing, movie theaters. We are craving experiences. We have so much entertainment at home. We don't need to go to a restaurant for entertainment anymore. We just go to restaurants for food. If we want entertainment, we want real entertainment, not watching a movie or watching sports. We can do that at home. So it's very quiet out there in the chat. I hope my chat is working. It's either very quiet because the information is amazing and everybody's fully engaged and you're loving it and you're taking notes, or it's very quiet because there's some technology issue and everybody's not talking. Okay, good. I got someone out there. Cool. I love it. Thanks. I need that interaction. Chat away so I know that we're out there. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. So another area that I see growth in is, or an area of opportunity, is what I call purpose-built restaurants. This is something that I'm working with my clients on a lot right now, which is stop looking at off-premise as an add-on to your concept, right? In the old days, we built an Italian restaurant, we built a Mexican restaurant, and we had this little section for to-go. And we didn't really put a lot of thought into our to-go containers, and we didn't really put a lot of thought into our packaging. And it was more of an inconvenience, but it's not anymore. COVID accelerated that. It's been going that way, but COVID didn't make curbside pickup. Excuse me, Chili's, Olive Garden. I think Chili's made curbside pickup. When I waited tables at a Chili's in 2001, I think, we had a full section for curbside. We had video cameras that would show us the parking spots. They were like black and white, closed circuit. It was terrible quality. But, excuse me, people would call in their orders and tell us what kind of car, and we would pay attention to the parking spots. When they pulled up, we would run the food out through a separate entrance and exit. If they came in through the side door, we had a separate register for them, right? They were thinking about this 20 years ago. They were way ahead of the industry. The consumer wasn't quite ready for it. COVID accelerated that. Now everybody's ready for it. We are not going backwards in technology. I apologize. It's very dry. Today, I've been drinking a lot of water, but I just can't drink enough water. It's incredibly dry outside today. They even said on the news that today was going to be like 0% humidity, like one of the driest days we've ever had. So I apologize that I keep stopping to drink water. My throat is just really dry. So stop thinking about off-premise as an add-on to your concept. Whether that means that you have to do some renovating to your current concept, or if you're expanding, you have to start thinking about this more. But off-premise is becoming a very, very big part and will continue to. Make this the concept itself. We're going to talk more about that later, but we're going to talk about ghost kitchens and things. Make this the concept itself. Make off-premise the concept itself. Put as much effort, attention to detail in off-premise as you do on-premise. This is what I mean by a purpose-built restaurant. So technology. We can't talk about the state of the restaurant industry without addressing technology, right? In my opinion, 4 years ago, I did not have this opinion. Again, go back and watch the videos. It's very interesting to see how things have changed, not just in the industry, but in how my perception of the industry has changed. 4 or 5 years ago, look, I'm an operator. What I always say is, if your back hurts and you go to a chiropractor, they're gonna prescribe chiropractic adjustments. If you go to a physical therapist, they're gonna tell you that you need physical therapy and strength training. If you go to an acupuncturist, they're gonna tell you need acupuncture. If you go to a surgeon, they're gonna tell you need surgery. So be careful what doctor you go to, because that's what they're gonna do. I'm an operations guy. I understand marketing. I understand finance. They're both important. But if you come to me with a problem in your restaurant, I'm going to find an operational solution to that because I'm an operations guy. That doesn't mean I can't help you with marketing. It doesn't mean I can't help you with finances. But I believe that if there's a problem in a restaurant, operations will fix it. If you don't have enough guests, improve your operations. If you don't make enough money, improve your operations. It's all part of operations to me. That's me. I'm an ops guy. So I kind of fought technology for a while. I kind of said, yeah, technology's fun and it's gizmos and it's gadgets, but at the end of the day, good restaurants that operate well, won't really need to be investing in technology as heavily. And boy, has that changed. Maybe I was wrong then. If I was, I'll admit it, or maybe things have just changed. But I now believe, and I've been saying this for about 2 years now, that technology will be the biggest differentiator between restaurants moving forward. We live in an economy that I call the expectation economy. For any of you who've been through my training, you're well aware of that term, the expectation economy. It's the economy where we have Facebook and Instagram and all kinds of social media and Food Network and Bon Appetit magazine and Rachel Ray magazine and Martha Stewart magazine and beautiful food photos and food shows and food competitions are coming at us from all over. And so even people who are not foodies are seeing food all over the place. So their expectation of your restaurant has been raised. When they think of a hamburger, they think of the hamburger that was on the cover of Bon Appetit magazine, or they think of the hamburger that was featured on the show for the 5 best hamburgers in the United States. And then when they see your hamburger, not necessarily you, but a hamburger in general, they're like, wait, why is the hamburger I see on TV look so much better than the hamburger at my local restaurant? So the expectation has been raised and we've responded to that. Restaurants are better now than they've ever been. The worst restaurants, the bad restaurants, don't exist anymore. They're gone. There are no bad restaurants. If they weren't gone before COVID, they're gone now. There are no bad restaurants. There are restaurants that you think are bad because your expectation is higher, but there are no bad restaurants. If you're a bad restaurant, you're out of business or you're on your way out of business. So the differentiator is getting harder. The difference between great food and excellent food is very small. That difference is going to come in technology. I'm going to show you some examples here in a second with Domino's, right? Don't just use existing technology. Build your own. Now, sometimes building your own means connecting 2 or 3 things together. And I know this is hard. This is very hard. I get that. But it's very inexpensive to hire developers now. It's very inexpensive to look at potentially overseas developing, depending on where you are. And if you want to create a brand that is duplicatable, if you want to create a brand that is potentially franchisable, I hate franchising. If you want to know why I hate franchising, put a comment there and we'll talk about it later. But technology is going to be a big piece of your go-to-market strategy of why should I buy your franchise versus someone else. Let's talk about Domino's for a second. One of the clients that I worked with used to own some of a different pizza brand, a smaller, better quality pizza brand that would compete directly with Domino's. He ended up selling them, not because the product wasn't good, but because his kids would always order from Domino's. And he's like, why are you ordering from Domino's when I own this other brand, which is basically going to be yours when I pass away? Like, why are you supporting Domino's? And they're like, well, Dad, it's just so easy. Like, again, I don't want to name the brand, but the businesses that you own, we still have to call them. With Domino's, I can just go on my phone. Domino's created an innovation garage. Look at this. They call it a lab, their innovation lab or their innovation garage, about 7 or 8 years ago. And some of the stuff that's coming out of this innovation lab is incredible. One of the things that's coming out of this innovation lab is Dom. Anyone here know what Dom is? It's an artificial intelligence camera that they're installing in certain stores and testing that looks at the pizza and will instantly tell you, the operator, whether the pizza has been prepared properly. It's going to look at the distribution of ingredients, the ingredients itself, the coloring of the crust, the coloring of the cheese. It knows, right? So when you put it under there, it knows what order it is because it's been scanned, and it knows that this order is supposed to have mushrooms, pepperoni, and onion. It's going to look for mushrooms, pepperoni, onion. It's going to make sure they're distributed properly. And if it sees something like olives, it's going to reject it. Or if the pepperoni isn't spread out properly, it's going to reject it. This is happening now. I'm not saying you can go out and do that yourself. Maybe this technology exists. I don't know. Maybe we can look at, I don't know, but I'm just saying this is kind of some of the stuff that's happening out there right now. Another thing that they've done is geotagging. So when you order on an app and you walk into a store, look, it says, hey, Jim, come up here and get your pizza. This is pretty cool stuff. Now, I know that independent operators out there, you're saying, well, I can't do that. And I know that, and I'm not expecting you to do that. All I'm saying though, is if you were considering buying a Papa John's or a Pizza Hut or a Domino's, maybe 10 years ago, you would ask yourself the question, well, which food is better? But nowadays, I don't think that's even a question. I own stock in Domino's, not because I like their food, because I love their technology, because I think their technology is the future of online ordering and of delivery for all industries. And Domino's has plans to eventually probably license out this technology to non-competitive restaurants. So that's why I'm a shareholder of Domino's. I love their technology. And I think you need to start asking yourself some questions of what technology can you create, invent, or add to your restaurant. Maybe in a year, this technology will be available for independent restaurants and you need to be using it. So just some areas to think about is your own mobile app. Your own mobile app. This isn't that hard to do. There's companies that can do it for you, but apps are absolutely becoming the thing. So the good thing about an app is it makes it easy to remember orders, past orders, information, push marketing, etc. Better, faster payment. We need to start looking at better, faster payment. Apple Pay, all kinds of different mobile payment options, right? Delivery and order tracking. People love to know how their order's doing, when it's going to get there. They're getting used to that from companies like DoorDash. Expedited pickup, food lockers, kiosks. I forgot to end that there, but food lockers like the Amazon lockers, kiosks, even if you don't have locker technology, just having areas for different people's food where maybe they can come into the restaurant and grab it themselves, or maybe they could just check in with someone and then just grab their food quicker. Some of my clients do that. They didn't want to invest in food lockers, but they have like little cubby holes with heaters in them, and it's got different names on it that are stapled and whether it's paid for or not paid for. And they have very efficient systems to get people their food fast. Integrated ordering and marketing. What I mean by this is automatic messages that go out based on orders. So you have people's order information, and then we can send out marketing messages because of the ordering. And again, none of this is hard to do, but it's stuff we have to take the time to look at. And this is the stuff that's starting to make a big difference on where we choose to eat. Third-party delivery, as we kind of wrap up here today. The one thing, of course, is we know third-party delivery is absolutely here. A year ago, I predicted it. It is still here. I didn't think COVID would be the reason why, but you cannot fight this anymore. If you are fighting this, you are probably hurting. You cannot fight this anymore. You cannot look at the fees that they charge as over the top or exuberant or unable to be profitable because of the fees. You have to learn how to play the game, and you have to learn how to play the game properly. So the thing that I'm saying is don't just get on to the third-party apps. I hear this a lot when I talk with people. They're like, yeah, we're on DoorDash. Yeah, we're on Uber. I'm like, but are you purposefully using the tool? Do you have a specific strategy for using the tool? And the big important thing for me is use the tool to find new customers. Use the tool to find new guests. Put some discount coupons, put things in there so they order from DoorDash, but then they go to your app to get a discount and order from you next time and earn loyalty points through your program and continue to order through you, because once they order through you, you have their information, you can market to them. So use DoorDash and Uber to find new customers. That's one way to purposely use these tools. Make sure your items are SEO'd properly. Don't just create an omelet section and then list the 5 different kinds of omelets. Call it a Denver omelet, a ham and cheddar omelet, a cheese omelet, whatever that is. I have a whole video about just that. Look for it on my YouTube channel. But that's how you're going to show up. as we're looking at doing our ordering digitally, we search for things. We don't just search for a restaurant, we search for items. We want an omelet, we want a hamburger, we want a Nashville chicken sandwich. So make sure that you're SEOing your items properly. And if you don't know what SEO means, search engine optimization, do your research on that. Add items that are searched and searchable. You can use something called Google Keyword or keyword find. Why am I drawing a blank on what it's called? Just go to Google and type Google Keyword and they'll take you to a tool. It's a free tool and you can put in your geographic area and you could type words in and see, like we determined that in Austin, breakfast burritos are not as popular as breakfast tacos. And I'm going to show you about this. I'm going to talk about that more in some training that I have, but I'll show you how to use the Google AdWord and Google Keyword Finder. But some restaurant or some areas use the word pasta, some use spaghetti, some use different words. Some prefer burritos, some prefer tacos, some prefer fried chicken, some prefer crispy chicken. Do your research and find out what words people are searching for and then make yours searchable. Exceptional photography. Do not just put average photos up. We eat with our eyes. Drive traffic when possible. And what I mean by that is even if you use DoorDash for delivery, have your guests order through your online ordering platform, then just use DoorDash for the delivery. It will save you money. It will save your guests money. And then virtual kitchens and virtual concepts. I'm getting a lot, Google Keyword Planner. Thank you, Andrea. I'm getting a lot of questions that are popping in here. We're going to look at those in 1 second. I just have a couple more slides here and then we're going to wrap up. So the last one that I want to talk about here is, of course, ghost kitchens. How could we not be talking about ghost kitchens or virtual kitchens, right? In today's world, it would not be a state of the restaurant industry if we didn't talk about the importance of ghost kitchens. The thing that I want to share with you right here, right now is that whatever you're thinking of a ghost kitchen, of a virtual kitchen, there are multiple other areas that you need to be thinking about. I have here a list of the different kinds of ghost kitchens. We're not going to get into what they are, but there's single ghost kitchen or single ghost brick, multi-ghost brick, ghost operator, ghost outsource, multi-ghost outsource, single ghost, multi-concept. I explain what all of these are in a program we have called Ghost Kitchen Bootcamp, which I'm going to tell you about here in a second. But you have to be taking this model very seriously. The ghost kitchen, virtual kitchen, dark kitchen, cloud kitchen, whatever you want to call it, this is the evolution of our industry. Let's just go back since the last economic correction, because the most opportunity emerges in a chaotic economy, in an economy that's fixing itself. That's where new technologies emerge and grow. New technologies don't emerge in good economies. They grow in good economies. They scale in good economies. But new technologies are built out of necessity. And COVID has created a necessity for ghost kitchens, cloud kitchens, and we don't go backwards. Technology never goes backwards. So whatever you're thinking, if you're saying to yourself right now, like, well, ghost kitchens aren't right for me or for what I do, you're wrong. Because let's look at 2008, right? Restaurants got hit hard. What came out of that? Food trucks. Food trucks became very popular because they were very utilitarian. Chefs with great quality and great talent were able to bring food closer to you for less money. And we loved it. And it was a great way for young chefs to get into the industry and get their product out there. Food trucks were great. Then we had this pop-up revolution, right? Where these great chefs would go into other people's restaurants or a space that was closed and they would do a restaurant for a month. Or even there were all these underground dining kitchens where they would cook dinner at someone's house underground illegally, right? And it was fun and it was cool. Well, now we don't have to do that anymore. We can do that legally and we can deliver it and we can send it to your house. It's the evolution. It's the next step. This is where the restaurant industry is going. I believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, ghost kitchens will be a major, right now, like even though it's trendy and it's fun and we read about it, it's this big of the restaurant industry. This will be an absolutely major player in the industry. And right now it's the Wild West. It's like food trucks in 2009. If you got a food truck in 2009, you could pretty much do anything you wanted. You could operate anywhere with almost no rules. But then as it got more popular, we had regulations, and now we see less and less food trucks because you can't just park them anywhere. They got to be parked at a commissary. They got to hook up to this. They got to do that, right? Ghost kitchens are the same thing. It's the Wild West out there. Claim your land. Someone earlier said that the reason the suburbs are growing so much is because of the mass exodus out of the major cities. They were correct. Real estate has been very important in the past, but the new real estate has been internet. It has been your website, your domain. The new real estate for restaurants is going to be the internet. It's going to be your positioning on DoorDash, your positioning on Uber. Think of Amazon. If you started an Amazon business 10 years ago, you have better relationships and better real estate on Amazon than someone who's trying to start an Amazon business now. Same thing with eBay. You want to play nicely in their sandbox. So really quickly, I want to just talk about Ghost Kitchen Bootcamp, and I want to offer you a coupon code here. I know we talked about a lot. I'm going to get to the questions here, but before we wrap up, anyone who's interested in learning more about ghost kitchens, we created a training program called the Ghost Kitchen Bootcamp. It is what we believe is the absolute future of the restaurant industry. It is where we are dedicating a lot of our resources to training. We have worked with probably a dozen people who've opened ghost kitchens over the last year or so. The first ghost kitchens that we opened were about 2 years ago, before the pandemic even hit. But I mean, I have a client right now who opened up his second ghost kitchen about 6 weeks ago. He's working on his third ghost kitchen now. It'll be open in February. So he'll have his brick and mortar plus 3 ghost kitchens. His 3 ghost kitchens will be doing more in sales than his brick and mortar. And it doesn't really cost him anything much more. So this is really a good model. Now, again, I see people typing like dark kitchens and things like that. There are definitely differences if you want to split hairs, if you want to say a dark kitchen is this, a ghost kitchen is this, a virtual kitchen is this. I just like the term ghost, and we came up with the really cool ghost. So we call them ghost kitchens. It's easier. But we're going to explain all of that. But anyways, I'm going to wrap up here. I'm going to get to the questions. If you're interested in Ghost Kitchen Bootcamp, it's therestaurantboss.com/ghost-kitchen-bootcamp. Use that coupon code and you'll get $20 off in the next 24 hours. Thank you, Don, for posting that. In the next 24 hours, you'll get $20 off. That's my gift to all of you today for attending live. I want to thank everyone for attending the State of the Restaurant Industry Address of 2021. Thank you very much.